Good day. Welcome to episode 2 of what is cleverly called the Chaz Palmer Williams podcast. Obviously there's not enough podcasts out there, and so this is episode 2 of that. But this is really nice because it's kind of, it's a nice medium for me to be able to do and just chat, and it feels more productive than just loads of posts about, I don't know, fucking whatever, what socks I'm wearing or whatever. I can't really do that. I hate doing social media. So this is cool, and people seem to be enjoying it. So Lewis is the lead singer and guitarist, was from Captain Everything, and also from the Social Club, who have a new album out right now, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's just lovely to talk to him. He's such a genuine human being, and I think such an underrated talent as a front person, guitarist, and songwriter in general. So it was lovely just to sit down with him and have a chat. But that's it, really. Super excited to get on with it. Check it out. If you like it, do all the subscribing shit. I don't even know what that is. I don't know how you do it. I don't know where you do it. But I think it will tell you that the new episode is up and coming. We've got someone lined up for that already. Share it with mates that from the scene. That would be awesome. And if you want to go over to Patreon and help in some way, that's cool. I managed to get a Wi-Fi booster with the Patreons kind of donations the other day, so that can boost the Wi-Fi around my house. And so I'm gradually building this sort of thing up, and it's really, really awesome for this not to be like a sort of economically minusing, thing that I want to do. So massive respect to those people. Quick shout out to Jules for being a new Patreon member. Jules, old school Lightyear matey, big up Jules. And okay, this is it. This is the next episode, and we'll get on with it. Balls. The fucking mic just fucked up. Right, that's it for now. Bye. That's like a real punk rock way of looking at teaching, isn't it? Take the system down from the inside.
Well, I probably have, I'm head of drama, right? So I have my own department, which is awesome. And I get to do cool stuff. So like, I've just set up this festival. In fact, I launched it yesterday. Every single kid at our school, so it's like 1,200, coming off timetable for a whole day. And they've got... there's like 63 things they can go and see. Some are plays and some are shows. You can go and watch eyeballs being chopped up in Dissection Club and stuff. And like every student has to book their way through the day. And it's like DIY 101, isn't it? It's like, just make a play, put it on. Don't wait for someone to do it for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's something really liberating in all that, isn't there? You know what I mean? For like adults and kids, really.
Well, yeah. It just reminds me of when... when we started, we were chatting. We should probably let your listeners know that this is a do-over, right? This is take 2. You very kindly.
This is take 2.
You very kindly.
Have we started? Have we started?
I don't know.
I don't even know, man.
But this is like, you very kindly said that because I got mega para, as I always do, super paranoid, and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I was. Hadn't done my homework, Chaz. Basically, I don't think.
I've not done any this time.
Yeah. I said to Anne, what do you think Chaz is going to ask me? And she was like, I don't know. He'll probably ask like how you got into punk and stuff. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I was born on a Wednesday. and then we started and you were like, so why do you think the scene collapsed? And I was like, I don't know, really.
So, and testing you on bands as well.
Yeah, so I do appreciate the fact that you've allowed me to have a do-over on this. I very much
do. It was there was like zero planning as well, and this time as well, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do questions, and then just work in the week, and being a dad and all that just got away, and it's like, but this is like why I kind of want to do this. I haven't got the time to be like I just want to talk to all mates about the scene.
I also listened to Pete's one, the chat you had with Pete, and man, just love that guy. It just really reminds you, like, well, he's such a great dude. He always was such a brilliant bloke, and like, he's absolutely smashing it. We always knew, right, when you play with Jesse James, and you just listen to them warming up, and he would be like super John Coltrane in the corner, just facing the wall, just doing some crazy shit. And you're like, oh, you can actually play your instrument. So it's amazing.
Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
How did you get in here? Like, so it's just so cool. Like he's playing for the Pogues and everything. It's just amazing.
And I think it's that thing where like having tour managed a bit as well after Lightyear in various forms. It's that thing where some people who work in the music industry, not all by a long shot, but there's one or two that play the game of, like kind of networking. And I remember being on tour with a large US band and quite famous. And their manager was, when the lead singer walked in the room, like he was like, hi, oh yeah, like cracking jokes. And then when she left, he was like, right, you fucking do, like absolute turn, just absolutely.
Well, because the lead singer was the kind of money behind the band. Yeah. And she was like the boss, and it was like, so, it was like, it was obviously playing a game, like, I knew that you did a bit of tour managing. I'd like to ask you, how did you find it? Because having done, obviously we played so much together, didn't we? There was never a tour manager on. Well, I guess, I don't know, a member of your band kind of would fulfill that role, really, right? But I don't think it was ever me or you. Would that be fair to say?
No, I mean, I mean, just to finish quickly, I was going to say that Pete absolutely isn't that, and he deserves it because he's just done it through pure energy and enthusiasm sort of thing. But
and fantastic attitude as well, right? What a great guy.
Man, like can do, fun. Yeah, it's that, and it's like, oh man, if you're stuck or whatever, it's like, well, we could do this or we could do this, and how about this? And I know this person. And you're just like, shit, man, where does that energy come from? And he's still got it, so that's amazing. But I think that like, well, I always used to kind of get paid, like I think there was a bit of a myth that we were always wrecked, and I didn't drink before I used to go on,
it
was like going to the it's like you can't go and jump around and burp in between a verse, and
I think that was more it, right? For like if you're singing and you have half a lager or something. All of a sudden, you're just belching the whole gig, and it's like...
I love the fact we're like, that's the worst thing that we could think could have happened.
You don't want a sore tummy when you're up there, do you? But I used to get that a lot
You don't want to burp when you're naked, like doing a poo and a tear,
But I think I used to get a lot of people would accuse me of being drunk on stage, and I was never... It's just the way I am.
Same,
never drunk on stage, ever, ever, ever. Now in the club, it's interesting because, you play with different people and you see different sort of dynamics. I guess Rich would always have a few beers. But like Dave in Social Club, he'll always have a couple of beers unless he's got to drive. But like, you can't play hammered. What's the point of turning, like, there's too much riding on it. It's literally like, I've worked till 5, I've got in the van, I've driven this far, I'm not going to just spoil it now by being hammered on stage.
Imagine if, like, I mean, I think if your mate did that, you'd just be like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" Like
I don't remember there being like talking about our scene, the kind of household name and stuff. Let's be honest, like people probably had a bit of an issue with the booze, myself included, probably from time to time. But I don't remember there being crazy excess. Not before shows, anyway. It was always like, we were super like. Weirdly professional about it all, weren't we? And I wonder if it's because we were DIY and because we weren't making any money. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I'm lucky. I never had any issues with alcohol at all. I don't find it addictive. I don't. My trouble is with the old ADHD is that I don't stop. So if I have a couple of beers, it switches on my brain and I'm up till 6 a.m. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, right, what's the next adventure?
Yeah, I know.
Climb up that scaffolding, or
I've seen that several times from you over the years. Yeah.
So I'm learning to try and switch that off, or recognise when it happens. It did happen a few weeks ago actually, and I ended up like basically like climbing over these garden fences, like because we heard the noise of a party, and ended up finding this party, and then. But so every now and then it still happens. But yeah, I don't know. I think that like it's interesting. I think because in a way, I think the atmosphere was always really nice with all those bands in that scene. That I feel as though beforehand it's like, okay, let's go and let's just chill out, let's hang out, let's talk, it was like, let's have a game of chess. I remember like you went through a chess period, and then I think we said last time about you came in once and we had that rep of being a party band or whatever, and we were all reading Harry Potter, and you were like Lightyear party animals, and I think, but also that's not sustainable, on like 300 shows a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Really, you can't do that. And I think the last 3 Lightyear tours I went on, I think everyone was drinking way more, like it was
because you're part time, right?
Yeah.
So it's a holiday.
It's
weirdly,
a holiday.
Yeah. Whereas I guess that's what I mean. Like we were also like, if you think back to it now, something like Household Name Tour, there'd be like 7 bands on the bill or 6 or something, right? 1 local and maybe us, 5 household bands. Everyone like took it. I mean, we took it really seriously too. We took the gigs really serious. I'm really proud of it, proud of the way our attitude was towards it. John did say, John Whitehouse from Captain Everything, he said to me, he wishes he'd had a bit more fun when we were touring, because we did do it. But it wasn't like we're taking it seriously because we want to make millions of pounds, whatever. It was literally like we were just on this mission the mission was always, if you went to a new town, like first time we came to Derby, I don't think you guys were there. I think it was before we'd met any of you lot. And it was the sound guy.
I'm meeting Andy from the Vic later today.
There you go. So Andy, say hi from me.
I will, yeah.
So it would have been, Andy would have been behind the bar. What's the sound guy? Kev, was it? No.
Kev, yeah.
Kev. And his dog.
Charlie. Yeah,
and his dog. And we got there at 5, sound checked, and we're like, right, let's just walk around the town and try and find some people that want to come to this gig. And we found this couple. They were probably like 15. And we were like, do you want to come to a gig? And they were no, basically. And oh God, it's so tragic. And we basically ended up like they were the only 2 people at the gig. We paid for them to get in, and then we drove them home. And they was like 20 minutes out of the way. But it was like the mindset was like, if you get 2 people to come watch your band, then they're going to go away and they're going to tell 3 other people. And then next time you come, there's going to be 5 people at your gig. And I'm no mathematician, but that seems like it. And that was it. That was the mission. It wasn't like
Didn't Charlie the dog drink your beer as well?
Oh yeah. That was depressing. That was so
But I think that's like, it's a good example, because I do feel like a lot of bands, and there's still the punk scene going on now. It's not like, oh, this ended when we ended or whatever. Like there's loads of bands like Random Hand, and
we played with them last week. Played with Random Hand last week.
Yeah,
they were fantastic.
They're so good, yeah. And you can. There's still that going, but I think that like outside of that scene, I don't know like how many sort of indie bands around the era would have done that and not gone, do you know what, lads? Fuck this. Like we're there was no sort of like, this tour isn't working, or it was like, it was pure graft, it was pure grinding. And if it had been,
but it was like, it was pure grind, like you said. I completely agree, but with no specific end game. It felt like, other than keeping on tour and keeping writing songs my favorite thing was always writing songs. I love writing songs. And
it was like the 2010 World of Warcraft version of touring, wasn't it? It was just
keep going,
go out there, kill those wolves, come back, go on the next mission. What's the end of the game? There isn't an end of the game. The end of the game is the sword of whatever, and that was Reading.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, first on at Reading.
Reading was the boss, the boss level, and then after that, you just have to restart the game.
But people still. Obviously, I work in a secondary school, and occasionally the students all hear about Captain Everything or the club or whatever, and they're incredibly impressed that I played at Reading and Leeds. It's like it was an amazing thing. There's not that many bands on the grand scheme of things that have ever played the Reading Festival.
I think not only that. I mean, I think not only that, but like to have played major festivals and have those tents full, and even for the bands that couldn't tour all the time from that scene that played, still pretty full, busy tents.
Yeah, it was. This is kind of what this is what threw me off a bit last time when we were chatting, because it's my fault. I just hadn't really thought about the fact that what we had going on was, we were just super lucky, or was it just like stars aligning or whatever? But you're absolutely right. A household band or whatever, a UK punk band at that time could go and play in Wales on a Wednesday, and people would show up to the gig. That's mad. When you think about it, it was really it was like a collection of clusters of local scenes that sort of bled into each other and ended up being a national scene. It was really really cool.
It's amazing, and I think that's the thing. It's like, I think in my head, I'm just still trying to go like, am I sort of glamorizing this, or am I, whatever? And I guess maybe I am, and there's a bit of nostalgia there too. But like, also like, I genuinely feel like it when you look, there's like 350, maybe 400 bands, around the UK at the time.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Loads touring on the same labels, and then kind of like, a similar part of that scene would be things like, Crackle Records and, all the, the one car pile up and Chopper and who were fucking amazing as well.
That was first CD I bought of a UK band, I think, was you. Did you hear that? Is that the Chopper album? Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. Worm. Did you know Worm?
Yeah.
This guy I know, Lee Barnes, they gave me a couple of tapes, and one had Worm on it. And I was like, fucking hell, this is amazing. And the first time I heard ska, go from like punk into ska, that in one song, was so when funny. Worm did it. And I think it might have been on Brown Eyed Girl cover they did, and they also did an amazing song called Fuck. But anyway, I remember hearing that, and I was like, what the fuck was that? That was insane. Like, like, these musical geniuses, and dude, obviously like now.
First time I heard Double Time just absolutely blew my head off. So before I was in Captain Everything, I was in, this is quite good actually, I was in a band called No Future with three boys from the local Catholic school. I was there's like in Garston where we grew up, there's like three schools separated by a massive field basically, and I went to the school I now work at, and I was in a band with three boys from down the road at the local Catholic school, and we were called No Future. And we, like, the guitar player was called Lee, and he's a lovely boy. I still, like, very occasionally hear from him. And my mum was mates with his mum. So every Monday we'd go back to Shirley's house and I'd hang out with Lee, right? Ever since I was like 10 years old or whatever. And one day, I remember just going around there, and he was a punk now. Like, we'd all been like grungers, haven't we? We'd all been Alice in Chains t-shirts and stuff. Yeah. And now he was like, that's all shit. This is what it is. And he put Linoleum on by NoFX. And I was like, those times where you just go, yeah, this is really great. Yeah. Like, I couldn't find the fucking one of the beat at all. I was like, what is this? And then sort of when I tuned into it, it was just, it blows your mind, doesn't it? You just think, what the hell is this, man? Anyway, that band, we had this school underpass, right? And I remember I went round to Lee's one day, and he went, I've tagged the underpass with No Future tags. And I was like, what do you mean you've tagged it? And he said, I've put NF everywhere. And I was like, you mean National Front? He said, some kind of Nazi, Lee. What are you doing? So we had to go round and untag like all these tags. He was ignorant. He wasn't ignorant, but he made a mistake, let's say. So he was so proud. He's like, I've tagged it. No Future tag. NF written in the. Yeah, we were like, no, let's go and cover that up.
I can't remember if I said this the last podcast or not. If I did, I'll edit it out. But my son, and I don't even know if it's the last conversation we had, but he was in the park and I'd never heard him swear before. And he climbed up a slide and because he's autistic and ADHD, so he's always doing interesting things. But as you saw last time, but and he climbed up this slide and he stood at the top of this slide and he just looked out over the park and he was probably about 7 at the time and he just shouted, "Nazi punks, fuck off!" like this.
That's a great way to break your swearing duck, isn't it?
And I was like, "What?" Like, and just panicking, like because all the other parents, are there, and like the school gate thing. You don't want people to think that, and also that term, like, I think that term "Nazi punks, fuck off" is very confusing for your average, sort of, because they're like, and they heard the word Nazi, they heard the word punk, they're probably not sure what both means. You know what I mean? From the sort of
100% know what you mean, mate. When we were, do you remember that time when we were, Captain Everything went to Eastern Europe and we had a load of Nazis turn up at our gig, and their promoter was like, "You do not know? They want to kick. They want to kick you." We were like, "Oh no, this is bad." But when you tell that story, you say like, "Oh, because there's punks and then there's like Nazis that are part of the punk scene." Like, thankfully, not as much these days, I think, as far as I'm aware. But like, when we went out to Eastern Europe, there was a lot of Nazi punks out there.
Yeah, and skinheads as well. Like, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously skinheads are associated with Nazis, and obviously there's a huge proportion of that. Probably way more skinheads that are not Nazis.
Absolutely.
But it's funny because people don't always talk about Nazi punks, and actually there was, I believe in the LA scene when it all started, there was loads of them, and it's just that confusion, I think, isn't it, of what people are, and I listening to some of the stuff that sort of Fat Mike said about, the scene in LA and stuff when it started, it was like it was a mess, it was violent, it was, I think that, and I think that it does show what a positive scene we were around, really, because I remember now, actually, this remembers, like, we were at a gig and you guys were playing Captain Everything and it was fucking great. And I remember some guy was being an absolute twat, and I think it was like in an art centre somewhere.
Yeah.
And you stopped the show and you were like, like, "Mate, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing?" And do you know what was cool is, like, it was almost like you had the skill of like a stand-up comedian to actually destroy this guy, in a way that was like, I have the microphone and, it doesn't matter what you're going to say because you're going to get a comeback that is like from somebody who's like a very good front person, Well, and I would say that about all the bands in that scene, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty well practiced in the member of audience has got a bit too excited and has sort of misread the room and has decided he wants to be a one-man mosh pit, turn the front 4 rows into his personal dojo, and actually, and some gigs that's great because everyone is consenting to it, right? But
yeah,
sometimes you just got to read that room and think like, but I know I don't want to you want to let people down gently, don't you? Because it's like, in a way, you're like, "Thanks, mate," because you are clearly having a blast to this music, which is great. But you're also, your behaviour is making other people not have as much of a blast, right? And it's a collectivist thing. We're here for the majority of the room, of which you are not in with your attitude. So chill the fuck out, But it's tricky, man. Like, but we had so much of that in Watford back in the day. We had like, there was just a few characters that used to come to the shows and just get violent. And we also had like this hardcore thing going on in Watford as well. Watford was awesome because we had metal, hardcore, punk, and all the scene. Like, you'd share bills with bands like that, and the crowds would, the people that came would be into all of it, which was amazing. But I've always been from the Ian Mackay school of, I'm not a big fan of like someone just shoving everybody out there. Like I say, if everyone's consenting to it, absolutely, why not? It's an amazing feeling, isn't it, when you're playing on stage and the crowd's going nuts. But when we play with club now, we're 44 and our audience is kind of similar age, and it's like, I remember back in the day always asking audiences to dance, and now I'm just like, don't worry about it, just tap your
dance.
feet, yeah, just nod your head, it's fine, it's all good,
There's always that one guy who like, and like a hardcore show where there's an element of windmills and whatever. And it's I mean, yeah, well, that skanking as well always like is a funny thing that makes me skanking.
I don't know if people would get like, yeah, that's it. I don't know if anyone got hurt skanking. Maybe you might pull a calf muscle or something.
My friend James Brown. Remember James Brown from Derby?
Yeah.
He skanked a mile. He skanked. I hope I'm not repeating myself because I might have told Pete this in the last one. But he skanked a mile from Derby Centre to the McDonald's roundabout in Derby as a challenge. And it was a weird. People were looking at him, quite strangely.
It's weird because skanking is like, does it work best on the spot? It doesn't have much forward motion to it, does it? It's like it's kind of like a shit version of the Running Man, the old 80s like disco move, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I believe that like old ska heads would be like, skanking is not what the skanking was when I can't even say that word. Skanking. It just makes me feel funny, but like it. Like in the olden two-tone days, skanking was like a bit like this, wasn't it? Like a bit soul-y as well, and a bit like woo. But then it turned into, I think it got mixed with that, picking the coins up kind of hardcore.
Yeah.
That is it circle jerks.
Sick of it all video, isn't it? Where they show all the moves.
That one. Yeah. So, and it's crossed between that particular one and that old two-tone one, and. You can get. You could get RSI. You could.
It's so dangerous, isn't it? So dangerous.
It's really dangerous. Like, but should be banned.
I was that kid who would try. I was that kid who would try and get out of PE. Like when I was at school,
Why did they do skanking at school?
Well, just any kind of sort of. Violent contact was really not my vibe. Like I came back in year 8 and I was 6 foot tall, and my PE teachers forced me to be in the rugby team. I lasted about a game and a half. I think I was like, this is not for me, mate. So the idea that I would go, I don't know. Violence at gigs just does my nut in. I don't know. Just not for me. I don't mind a little mosh if it's friendly and everyone's looking after each other and stuff. But
I hate the dude who like the shover.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the shover, like Sean the shover.
That's what I mean. Just read the room. Like if you're shoving people and you're not getting shoved back, then you're probably the problem.
He's the guy who just like walks around the outside, and you're like, you're obviously like, middle aged, having a pint, and then he just shoves you in the fucking back, and you're like, what does that mean? Like. What the fuck is that? That's never like I get like someone might be like aggro and they've got a lot of angst and and they're kicking and punching and they, like you say, they misread the room. But the shover's like and it's always in the back or it's always, and you're just like, and they're sort of giggling as well, aren't they? They're having a little giggle and they're sort of like, and you're just like, that's so not cool, man. Yeah.
But then you get the opposite, right? So we're talking about ska, right? So Captain Everything used to have a couple of ska tunes and we were into a bit of ska pugger stuff. And like all the bands on that scene, it's sort of slowly dwindled away, But it's just funny, like the kind of fashions at gigs. So I remember going to see the Get Up Kids at the garage. And all of a sudden, everyone at the gig was wearing a backpack on two shoulders and was stood still and just kind of gazing up at this band in awe, and that because that was what you did like you'd seen it on the internet or on video or whatever, that's what you did at gigs. Now you just stood still and you stared. And I remember watching the Get Up Kids and they were like, paraphrasing, obviously I was like, I don't know, 19 or something, but the singer was like, you guys enjoying this? It's kind of, because what we thought we should do at their gig was. Do you know what I mean? Is that there's always, and I think that's the same mindset as your shover, someone who thinks.
I think
that's
so,
what you
but
do at a
also
gig.
I think there's an element of like train spotting. In certain people are train spotters with music, and they're there to analyze and. I mean,
I can be a bit like that. I think I can be a bit prone to that.
I can.
Yeah,
I can.
To stop myself.
And I think that just spread. You know what I mean? I think that just sort of spread. But it's funny because, with all these like grassroots venues closing down, which is really, really sad.
Yeah.
It got me. I think it was Skin from Skunk and Nancy said recently about. They're really important because, like, you can fucking do anything at grassroots venues, and kind of like you learn your trade at those venues.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
And I all these venues that, excuse me, that I just feel like with the Vic, like, was an obvious one, and there was loads of them like the Vic, but the Vic was like, you can go in there and as long as you're respectful, you're not bullying, you're not violent. You can pretty much fucking do whatever you want in there on stage, and to have that lease of like, okay, go for it, represent who you want to be. And obviously like we got up some antics, or whatever, but it was never like, it was literally just for fun, pure fun. And I think the Vic was like, go in there, do what you want on stage, and it was like a license to fucking do anything. And I feel like that, took us to everywhere else. And I don't know if those venues, well, they're dying out, aren't they?
Well, you guys had a home venue, right? That was the one thing that we never had. Well, that's a lie. We had Watford College for a little while, but then when the gig stopped at Watford College, we were venue hopping from then on, really, pretty much. And then we'd sort of go to a venue and sort of set it up. I say we. This is not me. I wasn't doing any of the hard work. It was like Watford's Last Chance and Mikey from Sixth. I don't know if you remember that band, that crazy metal band.
Yeah.
So he's a Watford boy, and he used to put on all the gigs. Actually, he was amazing for the scene. But we were sort of venue hopping from then on. So when we came up to Derby and saw that you guys had a space, like a place, like a central hub, where all the bands could hang, because it was a pub, right? You could go and hang out there as well. That was really cool. I bet it's right place, right time, right? Andy had a great attitude towards it. There were bands that wanted to be in bands.
Yeah, and he employed everyone, So it was that thing where like, I mean, I was pretty lost before. I don't know, half lost, half absolutely out of control before Lightyear, and I was just skating every single day and drinking and whatever. And Andy would just be like, I'd be like, I've got no money. He's like, come in, doesn't matter, and it gave like Neil a job there. Neil ended up living there, Ella, Neil's girlfriend, ended up working and living there. And it was almost like he would take everyone in, and
yeah, I mean, I've slept on the stage one night, he was... Which was, God knows what I woke up with in terms of like Legionnaire's disease and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't the most.
Yeah, I mean
sanitary.
that roof definitely had a certain asbestosy tinge. Didn't it?
But it's talking about the scene and just the fact that it was a lot of. I think it was just the times, right? Like punk was. We were like the tail end of it, really. If you think about like Green Day was huge, and then Offspring and Epitaph and all that stuff, and then Blink do their thing in like the end of the 90s, and it's on MTV and it's big, and everyone wants to be in a punk band now,
Yeah.
And so we were on the end of that, I guess. Like people want to go to gigs. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's such a. It was. I just feel super duper lucky that we were clearly what was going on in Derby was also going on in South Wales, was also going on in Exeter with the Cavern, was also going on in Watford, was also
Peterborough, Scotland,
and then I don't know. Maybe like this is pre-internet though, isn't it? Really, when it starts, the internet kind of joins it. So it's
that's the weirdest thing though. So this is like literally all word of mouth, flyers,
phone numbers,
and phone numbers and email lists, probably one or two email lists from household name or something. Ours
in Watford, ours was schools. Like Watford's got tons of schools, and so you would sort of you would know bands from schools. So Captain Everything was a Parmeters band, but Rich, our drummer, went to Clement Danes, which was like West Watford, and then there would be like
sounds like a really posh version of the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. Watford is what's the word? It's a wide demographic.
Yeah.
Class wise, you know, there's yeah.
No, I'm not saying you're posh. Not that there's nothing wrong with it.
Oh well, the school that I went to was known as the posh school. Yeah, you had to have an interview to go there.
I mean, Pete's posh. Pete.
I'm not on that level, mate.
Not on that level. No, he's super posh. Yeah.
I'm petty bourgeois, I'd say. Shopkeeper class, you know. But like back in the 90s, you weren't allowed to academically test kids to get them into schools. So we had to go and have an interview with the headmaster when you were in year 6, and he would sit down and ask you what books you were reading there. And you know, Paul Lav, my best friend, who's in My Dad Joe. I don't know if you guys ever played with him much, but then he
a couple of times maybe.
He's also a founding member of a lesser known band called Gallows that did all right for themselves in the end, I think. Yeah. He tells this story that he went to Watford Boys for an interview. He ended up at Parmeters with me, thank goodness, because we're busy mates to this day, right? But he ends up at Watford Boys chatting to the headmaster with his mum and dad sat beside him. You know, they've briefed him. And the headmaster's like, do you like reading, Paul? And he said, yeah, I'm really into reading. He's like, oh, what books do you like to read? And he's like, I'm really into Where's Wally? And his mum was like, I knew at that point, I was like, fuck this. We might as well have just got up and left. Like,
I mean, but that's the thing, is it? Like, sort of the education system and stuff, like all this. I mean, you know, this was my way out of all of that. You know, like I'd gone through the education system and it completely failed me. And you know, I used to hide my skateboard clothes in a bush and skateboard on the cross country, and then I would start and then I'd never come back, you know, and the teacher was there still timing. So it was like, I was like, there's a world outside of education, you know, for me. And it's skateboarding and it's punk. And, you know, it's like, oh, I don't have to work in a bingo hall, or I don't have to, you know, like, because I can't do this. You know, I can't turn up on time in the morning. I can't, you know, like, it was impossible. And as soon as, like, because I remember, like, our first gig and I was literally, you know, doing the whole Eminem thing and nearly puking and stuff. And and I was so nervous, man. You know, like I was so, and I get nervous now solo stuff as well. But like with Lightyear, I feel as though if someone said there's 10 million people out there, you know, ready to watch you with Lightyear, I'd be like, fucking bring it on. You know, do you feel the same way with the Social Club and Captain Everything?
1000%, yeah. Like when I was a kid, it was drama or music. They were my two passions, right? So I loved acting and I got super into stand-up. Like in the 90s, you know, there's so much stand-up going on. It was like George Carlin and Bill Hicks was massive as well, you know, and then like Izzard comes along with his surrealist stuff, and I got so into that. And then music as well. I've always just been crazy into music too. But it was always like, if you had your gang on stage and you were all on the same page and you were all backing each other, you could do anything. And I still feel like that with the club, you know, like I'm so lucky that I get to play with such brilliant people and brilliant musicians, and they really back me. Like because I write the songs, right? And we arrange them together. And they realize, like, they're, like, I don't know about you, but bringing a song to practice is so scary because you just like, and they've got such a lot of trust in me, and Captain Everything Boys always did as well, you know, but we all wrote in Captain Everything. We all sort of wrote our own tunes. So you kind of learn that you have to be supportive of each other and you have to give things time and work. And I think that kind of trust, if you put music together, right, and you all believe in it, put that band in front of anybody and just let them do their thing, you know, and just let. I think I said to you last time, it's my happy place really playing. It's really like with my crew up on stage, like I just love them to bits, and we're always like, one of my favourite gigs is a gig where there's no one there because you just try harder. I don't know why, but it's just like I'm going to get these two people to love this, and we're all on the same page.
I think that's a weird thing. I mean, firstly, like I think with the social club, you've got some serious like talent and veterans there as well. And I think that all of them have done awesome things, but. And awesome players as well, but I think you, as always, Lou. I think you undersell yourself, and I do it as well. I think that you're an exceptional front person, and I think you're a great songwriter and a great lyricist, and it's
Thanks,
one of
man.
those things.
That's
where,
really nice.
it felt weird saying that.
Yeah, no.
Like I feel like I have to go. That's bullshit, by the way.
That is so not our relationship, is it?
It's not, is it? I feel like we should stop this now. Anyway, forget I said that. Blah blah blah. But I think that like you, not everybody could be the front person like that. So I think like maybe Dave. In your band, I don't know. I'm just guessing. The social club. Maybe he wouldn't be comfortable. Like going right. Here's the mic. I mean, like Nelb in Lightyear, he's doing Stop Thief, and it's brilliant. People should check it out. But I'm not sure. And he's got on the mic a bit, and he's like fronting it sometimes a little bit, and it's great to see. But I'm not sure. Like afterwards, he was like, "Fucking hell, that is way harder than I thought." Doing that. And I think that, like,
I'd love to see Nelb on the mic. I don't know.
It's awesome.
But for me and you, like, we are. It's context is everything, isn't it? So, like, to me, Nelb talking into a microphone, other than to just go 1 2 1 2 in sound check twice. I've heard him do that about 3,000 times. But I mean, it would just blow my mind to see because he's like.
I think in all the thousands of shows we've done, I don't think I can recall a time where he's actually, said anything.
No.
But
brilliant. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah. But I think he's just, and that's what Nelb's good at is just being that fucking, monolith of like no change, when you're surrounded by like fucking chaos of like all of us, because we're all, I think 4 of us are diagnosed ADHD and, we're all whatever, and then Nelb is just the steadfast, doesn't change. Like
oh yeah,
I am like
for sure.
this.
Like you had. I mean, bars is bars, right? But like he's a great player, bars, and he's a serious musician. Like when you're not sticking your penis in his ear and stuff.
We're doing that thing again, man. You're complimenting bars.
But like you had bars, Jim, and Nelb. Right, drums, bass, guitar, and you lot all they kept it down, and you lot all just were like an explosion in a firework factory around it, and that's what worked. Like the music was locked down. Jim was solid.
Yeah.
Jim was a solid drummer, man.
Jim is the weirdest drummer.
He's got weird technique, but he's solid as fuck.
He's the weirdest technique, and it comes out sounding like we've had other drummers, like Bob. Bob, who's in every fucking band from Grown at Home originally.
Oh yeah.
Absolute legend, awesome guy, awesome player. But it's like, and it sounded brilliant when he stood in, because we had Jim dropped out for a tour, he couldn't make it at last minute. But it was like, and Bob was like, I don't know how Jim is doing some of this stuff. Bob teaches drums, like he's like, I'm not sure. And the thing is, we grew up playing together. We grew up in a garage. My first microphone was hold on, something's creaking. My first microphone was like a pair of like one side of a headphone stuck to a bamboo pole.
You got a fairly similar setup today, bruv. Your microphone propped up on 2 toilet rolls.
So the mic arm broke and I've got it stuck down 2 toilet rolls. So thanks for like outing my professionalism there, Lou.
Mate, DIY till you die.
This is beyond. This is even bad for DIY. But yeah, and I think that we all learnt to do what we did together pretty much in Lightyear. Like Neil didn't play the trumpet before Lightyear and stuff. So I think that really helps. But
you played to Jim though, right? You played to Jim. Like we played to Rich. Like, but you just
I
play.
don't think we've ever discussed it.
No, but what I mean is like, Rich is. I'm so lucky to have played with. I've only ever played with. Well, if we discount No Future, well, I think
we should.
Yeah, we only did about 3 gigs, I think. So with Captain Everything and then Club, I've played with Rich, Phoenix, I played with Blake, and I've played with Stu. I'm like, couldn't be any luckier, really. Like, I do think
that is a great.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? And all brilliant people as well. Like Strummer said, didn't he? You're only as good as your drummer, and I think he's right. I think that is correct, particularly in our kind of music.
Yeah. I'm meeting Sean from Five Knuckle later today.
I was going to bring him up because talk about, all our bands played to their drummers, so we were tight with Rich. And then when Rich left and we got Blakey in, it was amazing, it's like, but we sounded different. And I think lots of people have said that to me. They've said, they like both, but
it's just different.
It's character, right? You play to the character of your drummer. Phoenix had just such a wonderful character,
and I think Blake's awesome, top
incredible
guy, and also Stu, both top guy, top drummer.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think Rich, we talked last time about how Captain Everything didn't. I just all those bands at that scene, it wasn't like Blink 182 and another band that would sound like them on that sort of LA punk scene. The whole of California had some very similar sounding punk, whereas you Captain Everything sounded very, very different to Adequate 7. It's if you took away the term punk, people would probably go, that's not the same genre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that with you guys, I can't even think. You mentioned last time Digger and their first album, and we talked about Power Bait as well. And
I'm a big fan of that. Big fan.
Oh, so good, man. I want my hat back.
And they were so young when they made that album. They're 16, yeah, something like that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys, and still to this day, I don't think there's many bands, I hear loads of bands now that sound like Sublime, kind of there's a huge, or there was that thing where there was loads of bands that sounded just like Capdown, around that era. You would get somewhere, and it's cool, I'm not saying whatever, but it was you can literally tell that guy's singing like Jake, and they're a huge Capdown fan. And,
yeah.
But I never. Sounds like I'm dissing you guys, but I never heard anyone do it Captain Everything. But, no, but I mean, you guys were so unique, and was there a time where did you actually go, we're going to just play fast as fuck, and or did it just come out like that?
I think we just got hooked on it. I think we just got. I got hooked on double time music. I just got absolutely. I just thought it was. I mean, I remember being a kid, right? And you buy a record and you'd flip it from 33 to 45. And I always preferred it on 45 anyway, right? It was just that energy and that release of stuff, which is kind of weird because sometimes with double time bands, if you hang on to a chord for too long, your song can really drag, If it's it's say we were always going to avoid that. So Captain Everything never did that. We had these riffs that kind of leapt around the place, or chord progressions that leapt about. I just got completely and utterly hooked on quick music. I don't know, man.
That's so funny because, I never thought of it like that. Natalie's just texted me, "Where's the toilet roll?" I never It's funny you say like that because there is some stuff, doesn't it? And it lasts so long, and I mean, it's like your music is ADHD punk, isn't it? Really?
I don't know, mate. Did that be up to you to put that label on it? I don't know.
I'm sure there's a better term for it, but I mean, just to me, it was it was never. I think with ADHD, it's I heard someone describe it. You're either 0 or 2, So one day you could actually be completely just staring at a wall, or whatever. And everyone's stuff is different. Or the next day you could be completely manic and driving vans through walls and all that shit. And I just think for me, Captain Everything, that whole the attention to keep the attention, through all those songs was was just amazing. And I remember one time like we played with you guys, and I was like going to sleep at your house, so we all stayed at your house.
Yeah.
And I had the Promise Ring on, and I was going to sleep, and I think it was Very Emergency, that album.
Great album, yeah.
So good, yeah. And I remember lying down, and there's little moments that I really like on tour where, you know, like I feel slightly external from everybody else and peaceful when it's normally listening to music. But like, you know, when you're driving home and it's like everyone's in the back and they're all having fun and they're all laughing, and it's been a great gig, and you know, I just like to sit up front and look at the, you know, the road and in the dark, and you know, and take those moments.
Yeah.
And I had one of those at your house on the floor, and I was listening to that, and I was like, and you guys had just fucking killed it that night, you know, and I was like, you know, this is, I don't care, I have no goals, you know, I don't care, we have no plan. I was just like, this is what I want to do, you know, for the rest of my life, sort of thing.
Well, I think this is going back to all the way back in the circle to when we started, and the reason why I asked you if we could re-record it, because I never really, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. Like, having no plan was the plan. And you know, and of course eventually we're going to stick our heads out of the water and go, where I actually am, what's happened to me here, what's going on, you know. I couldn't agree more, mate. Like, not having the plan was the plan, and it was just what we're getting to do. You just feel so lucky to be able to like just play music every night, and it was almost like if something went wrong, like you broke a string or whatever, it didn't matter because it was annoying for the crowd that were there, but you'd be like, well, I'll change my strings and that won't happen tomorrow. You know, there's always like, it was always
there
like,
was no
keep
like
it rolling, roll.
Mr. Cigar and Fur Jacket from Sony Records was there watching, and the record deal's blown out the water.
You know,
fuck.
Social Club went for drinks with a record label once, you know.
Oh, really?
Isn't that funny? Because us, you know, 20-year-old me slapping 35-year-old me in the face for it. Yeah, we went for...
That's all right. You know, I do, you know.
But we went for a drink in London, and this guy says to me, like, what are you angry about? And I just thought, being here, you know, talking to you, you know, like, and then we played at the 100 Club with Graham Coxon, and
cool.
And it was great, and he was really nice. Stu kept trying to kiss him. He didn't like that very much. Which was amazing. I'm a big Blur. I love Blur. I think they're a brilliant band. And he was a lovely guy, and he was very nice about our music as well, which is cool. But like, as soon as you sort of dip your toe in that world, like we showed up at the 100 Club, and I believe the 100 Club is sponsored by Converse, or was. And so I showed up.
Okay.
And the first thing that happened was someone came round and looked at all our shoes. Looked at what shoes we were wearing. And I don't even know if I want to admit this to you now, Chaz, but
it's just me and you, so don't worry about it.
Well, me, you, and three
others.
Yeah. But we all got a free pair of Converse out of it. But it wasn't like, you guys are a great band, have these Converse. It was like, you're playing at the 100 Club. This is sponsored by Converse. You should wear Converse. And I just thought, no, this is not me. And fair play to people who do that stuff, right? I get it. I totally get it. But like, I'd rather just be a jobber punk and just work my job and play music with people.
But there's
a
beauty in that, you know, and it's easy to say that when you're old and you have a career and stuff, you know.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. I mean, I totally get it. I get why people would do it, because like the end, I don't know, man. This is what we're saying. Like we were planless, weren't we? But those people that did try and formulate plans, you always have to sort of compromise with the industry, right? Because music is an industry, and if you want to make money from playing music, you have to do it. You can't all be Ian MacKaye and have a huge fan base that was kind of ready to go for, you know, I mean, he's an amazing person, isn't he? To do what he does, and like, you know, I don't know, I don't really know what I'm saying, mate, but like, I feel like we were so, going back to what to our last chat where you sort of like just hit me, uppercutted me straight away with like, why did our scene collapse? I think it's because
like you were responsible.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think it's one, I reckon some people would say it didn't. It just carried on in a different form, and like people sort of took it over. And
I think there's the family
online.
tree. Like I think that there's a Scar museum in Coventry, and Lightyear is on the family tree around somewhere to do the specials and stuff. I have no idea why.
That's amazing, though, isn't it? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking incredible. Like,
we never had a good gig in Coventry, by the way.
No,
Coventry did not like Captain Everything.
No, there was like a pub on the corner, I think, somewhere that was like, I mean, it was all right, no offense to anyone, but also it wasn't like, Bridgend in Wales or where you were.
Oh, listen, I'm not dissing the people. The people were great. They just.
What have you got? Why have you got a problem with Coventry?
Yeah, what is it? Why do you hate Coventry so much? Yeah. They just didn't. We just never went down very well there. But you must have cities where you never went down very well.
No, we were good.
Okay, fair play. Yeah, fair enough. You never had like a dead town.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the thing is, it's no, definitely. I think that like what we were doing was, all of us, we were touring those places. I think like Armstrong at Hidden Talent was basically, some kid would be like, "Fucking hell, I've got this album. Let's put our money together, let's get a PA and let's, put it on for 10 of our mates and we'll all chip in, And so there was that sort of thing. And I think also like, I remember playing like Wales somewhere and it was like it was a venue and they hadn't moved the chairs and all the chairs, it was like it wasn't open, and they were all stacked on top of each other and there was like 3 kids there and, and it was like, I remember playing Belgium and do you ever know a guy called Belgium Freddy? Do you know that guy Freddy in Belgium used to drive bands around?
No, mate.
Fucking hell, absolute lunatic, awesome guy. But he used to drive, I think he used to manage Leftover Crack at one point, so that kind of gives you a sort of thing of what he's like. But so yeah, he got us a gig at a Belgian football club, and it was a room of old men, and I'm talking like in their 70s, sipping pints.
You've had a pretty good run though, mate. If I'm saying to you, did you have any dead towns? And you're like, well, we played it in front of middle-aged Belgians once, and that's your bad gig.
I'm talking like 70-year-olds, like like not dude, like my mum's like that old now, but like and boring 70-year-olds, 70-year-olds that had looked like they'd been working in the the pits for like their whole life. They were like, and that was the crowd. There was about 20 of them, and there was no like punks, there was no like whatever, and I was just like, what are we gonna fucking do here? Like, what do we do? And so I was just like, I'm just gonna play it like I would any other show.
Yeah.
And so I was like standing on the bar, and they were just drinking and staring at me, and I was just like, I'm just gonna fucking do this, and it wasn't very rewarding, like there was no convertees there, but you do it, don't you?
Didn't sell much merch that night.
Didn't do loads of merch. No, didn't get us back, which was weird. But I just think, but you do it, don't you? You just keep grafting. You go, right, I'm going to do it, and you don't get disheartened. And but I think all that comes at a toll, and I think that's why a lot of bands split up. There was like, we didn't have a plan. And there's only so long you can do that before your friends and your family, you're missing weddings, we missed funerals, birthdays. And I had that thing where like my life was carrying on outside of touring and I couldn't interact with it, and I couldn't stop things, and I was losing, experiences that way as well. Yeah. And then I'd come home, and I think there's a big, mental health thing. I think touring professionals are starting to realize it now. And I saw some pretty scary statistics around this.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like not to get too into it, but higher sort of suicidal thoughts than first responders, touring professionals have. So I think that like,
you mean musicians or just people who kind of work on the road?
I don't. I think this is cruise. I think this is cruise. But I wouldn't be surprised. Musicians as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously some people can live that lifestyle. But I learned that I needed to have space. I learned I needed to look after my mental health. But even back then, none of us were saying, "Oh, we need to look after our mental health." We were just like, "Right, we've got a tour." Yes, we never said no. To any tour at all. It was like. So I think that, people are hopefully starting to think about their mental health now. But like, if you're sleeping on floors, I slept on a mattress on our first tour on top of the van in Leicester, out in the street. And it was just like, you just do the silliest things. Like Neil slept in a bush, and I think when you're managing a small company, and you're that's got not a tiny turnover, by the end, it was... it takes its toll, and but I do often think, I wish someone had kind of gone, right, this should be your next step, like this is how we're going to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not entirely sure that we wouldn't have just rejected it, right? If someone had tried to come in and say, "Hey guys, you need to think about this," we'd probably have just gone, "No."
What makes you so angry, guys?
Yeah, yeah. What are you angry about? Oh God.
Imagine if someone came up to you after a gig then and said that.
Oh man, it's so funny because I don't think any of our music has ever been. I don't even think we've got ones. I don't think I've written a song in a minor key, even let alone be angry.
Yeah, but that's why Captain Everything was so amazing, and also the Social Club. New album's amazing, by the way.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, we're super really proud of it. Cool. Like it took a while to get there, but we got it.
Yeah, Lightyear are going in the studio on Friday.
Oh no way! New stuff.
New stuff, yeah.
Bloody hell! But you guys used to write. You guys used to write pretty collaboratively, right? Particularly on. Do you know what I was going to say earlier as well about touring all the time and what it did to our bands? Like, I think there was the business side of it, and just paying bloody rent and stuff like that. And eventually you're 24 and well, I was different, obviously, because my parents had died when I was younger. But a lot of you guys, you're like still living in your parents' houses and in your mid-20s, and they're like, "When are you going to leave? Are you still here?"
Yeah.
But I also think like the perpetual touring thing, I don't think it was very good for songwriting because you end up just writing songs about how you tour all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like this, which is fine. It's great. I love some of my favorite, like I love Searching for a Form of Clarity by Against Me, which I know some people will be like, that's their worst album. But we kind of played with them around that time. And, but a lot of that is about touring all the time, isn't it? So I could kind of relate to it. But, I just think did we lack a bit of life experience, other than this very niche Definitely. Life experience that we were living, like you said, we were all skipping, like the idea that you would go home for your auntie's 40th wedding, 40th birthday or whatever, right? Your auntie's 40th wedding, that could work, if she was old. But, just the very idea that you would go, "I'm sorry, I can't drive to Scunthorpe. I've got to go to Aunt Sally's 40th birthday."
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
And everyone would be like, "Well, why?"
Yeah.
It was complete and utter commitment to the band, it was like that. No one ever could go, "Oh, I'm not going to do that practice." 3 practices a week. Okay, cool. Go to the studio then. Okay, cool.
We must have had an end. We're working towards something, right? Which I think was sustainability. I think is what we're trying to work towards. Was like, if we keep doing this long enough, eventually we can kind of do it in.
We never had. We weren't doing that. Not for any reason of like.
Did you always know that? Did you know that it would end one day then?
No, like I was very. I didn't think I would reach like 20 years old. I always thought I would not be around at 20, and then I thought I wouldn't be around at 30. Like I just, not in a sort of negative way, and that sounds really sad now, but I just didn't think that I had any. I don't know. it was just I just I couldn't comprehend the next 5 to 10 years, or week. And if I had tour dates, it's like, great, this is the next 3 months, and then the next tour will come in, and it was like, that's what, and I think that gave me that thing of like not having to address that as well. It was like,
put your fingers in your ears and just keep going with it, right? Yeah
exactly. It was
maybe you're probably right there, to be honest. Like, I'm just trying to rationalize it, because I don't want it to sound like, me and you we can't sit there and go like, we didn't really want, we had a goal, which was get your music out to as many people as possible, by any means necessary. And our means were, thanks to Ian and people like that, our means were get in the van and play, and then play a city, and then go home for a week, and then go on another tour and play the same city again. We basically became local bands in most places, didn't we? Because you'd end up like, I love playing Newcastle's one of my favourite places to play. We ended up we'd be there every month, we'd play in Newcastle every month, and you end up being a local band in lots
and then you
of
stay at
places.
everyone's house, and
but like there must have been no, I was about to say there must have been a plan, but there was never a, if we keep doing this, we're going to sell loads of records, and we're all going to buy houses, and we're going to do. That was not the plan. But
I think like any scene, burns out quickly, and I think it's because it's momentum. I think it's the momentum is forcing it forward, and there isn't a plan. And then I think, and this is what didn't happen to our scene. Normally, what happens is the media or labels will latch onto that, and then they will make out as though they invented the scene, or they coined the terms, Britpop, whatever. They will come in and coin that and ride that wave, and use that energy and direct it into sales, and add marketing. It's like a startup, isn't it? It's like if two co-founders start something and it works, and it's scalable on their own, then it's scalable. If you add marketing and you add money and you add whatever, it's going to work. It's like a huge test group. And then if you market it correctly, you can hold on to that fan base without looking as though you're selling out, sort of thing. So I think that those scenes, they have that momentum, but then they lose it because, it's not sustainable. And then also everybody, like, you know what it's like. Everyone starts to sort of pick off. It's like, oh God, I'm getting into like graphic design, or, bars, for example, like, I'm getting into sound engineering, and, you start going, oh, and then partners, quite rightly so, say, do you really have to be on the road for 100 days of the year,
Do you think Bars got into, I mean, we can ask him, can't we? But do you think he got into sound engineering because he knew that the band was not going to be sustainable?
No, he just instinctively, So I remember the first time we were with Slow Gherkin, absolutely brilliant band. And we were at the, what's it called? Near down your way. It was kind of like a Harlow Square, at the Harlow Square.
Yes.
And I remember Vars trying to get into the tech side, and he was doing the lighting, and the drummer from Slow Gherkin, there was a little, he pressed his button, a little bit of smoke came out, and then but then he did it, and he didn't know how to shut it off. So there was just dry ice coming out of the drummer, and you couldn't see the drummer at all. You could just see Bars panicking and, whatever. So he learned from a process of elimination, I think Bars did. But
that place is gone now, right? You were talking earlier about small venues closing. That's gone, I believe.
What? Yeah.
The Harlow Square. Is it Martin, the guy who used to put the gigs on there?
I think so. I can see his face.
That was the first place we went that wasn't Watford, I think.
I just think, like, those places, I really feel as though that, we do need to give them money per ticket on the large shows, the stadiums, the arenas and things. It's like, these are breeding grounds. Like, one of our exports that I'm actually proud of from this country is music, and we've done a lot of like fucked up shit as a country, but I am proud in a way of music. I'm proud of those cultures, those tribes that we put together, like ska and mods, rockers, like skinheads, like all these subcultures, goths. Actually, I can't claim the goths. I'm not sure about that one, but and
I thought you were going to say, I'm not proud of the goths. No,
no, I've got goth pride.
Everyone's been there for at least a week in their life, right?
Jim once came on tour and he had an alter ego called Vamp.
I remember.
And remember Vamp?
Yeah.
And he would like not talk to anyone or anything, even in sound check, for like a couple of days, and then he'd just break and he'd start laughing, and that was fucking amazing. But yeah. So anyway, dude, I'm gonna go because my kids are screaming downstairs, and so awesome chatting. I feel like we could do another one, like at some point. Oh,
listen,
go on, mate.
I didn't really. I've never been asked to be on a podcast before. Captain Everything never really did many interviews, so like, this is a completely new thing for me, but I've absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You should do one yourself because there isn't enough.
There's a big, massive gap in the market.
What's the Social Club song called?
Oh, because the world lacks recorded music. That was because so Anne's best mate Sally, her fella Andrew's a lovely boy. We went round there, and this was donkey's years ago. And I was like, he asked me how the band was going, and I was like, Social Club's recording an album, and straight away he just went, is that because the world lacks recorded music? And I just thought, brilliant.
I thought it would have been something along those lines, like it was. I just thought that was really funny when I saw that. I thought that was very you, yeah,
because that song's about dying as well. You don't want to call it like, here's a song about dying.
This is like classic you and happy songs. Sad,
Well, it is what it is. Melancholy, I believe. At A-level, I studied John Keats, and he was the original emo kid, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
that's above my head, man.
It's just basically like, if you feel an emotion, you feel it to its nth degree, whether it's a good one or a bad one.
Absolutely lovely to speak to you. Loads of love, man.
Well, man, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. What a great way to spend a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's so niche. It's like, I'm like, yeah, let's do it again. It's like, just talk about something that happened in the fucking 90s and 2000s.
Well, I was quite proud that we didn't go down the, do you remember that time in Hull when we X and Y kind of thing? Like, because we could easily just babble on about that for hours.
Yeah. There's a lot of those little things, but next time. And I don't know. I don't know if this is interesting. I don't know. I don't really care because it's like it's just really fun that we can do this. And I don't know. Maybe a live one would be good sometime. And we could reenact those shows where 3 people turn up, or we could reenact the Belgium.
Mate,
old man
Social
show,
Club reenact those shows all the time. We'd literally played. We played in where were we? Stafford the other week, and there was
Red Room.
Yeah. What
I
cool
love those
bar,
guys,
right?
man. They're fucking awesome.
But
was it a bit quiet?
Oh, yeah. But it was great. Like, there was enough people there
Marty
for a
put
great
that on,
show.
right?
Yeah, Martin Holland.
Amazing.
Yeah, but then the van blew up on the way home. Classic.
Okay.
And
yeah,
so
cool.
I got in at like 6 a.m. and went to work at 7. So it was what it was.
Things don't change.
Yeah, man. But I just it's the greatest. How lucky are we that we still get to play? It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I love that. I love that secret society of like it's like a non-aggressive fight club. You can go into work the next day and you're like, I've done this, I've been there, and it's kind of and it's getting a more exclusive club the older we get. But people, not as many people going to the shows like for us. Because the thing is, we've done all that, but like. I don't know. I find it hard to get gigs now, especially solo. I just don't. Because I don't fucking put anything out. I'm terrible on social media. Like maybe my music shit. I don't know, but I just struggle a bit. But it's hard, isn't it, balancing life and everything? But
it is hard. But I feel like for us, actually getting this record out, we're so lucky. We played a gig with New Junk City. American band from Atlanta, brilliant band, and their guitar player was like, "Are you ever going to put this fucking album out?" And we were like, "I don't know, blah blah blah," and he just said, "I'll do it," and he just put our album out and printed 300 records, and it's just
amazing,
giving us a kick up the arse,
I think that's the thing. It's like I forget that you actually have to release music.
This is what I mean, man. Basis. Like we all got out of the habit of writing songs because we were just touring all the time.
So get writing for that Captain Everything Like You split. Yeah, we'll record these new songs on Friday, and we'll reserve them first dibs for a Captain Everything Like You split.
Yeah, look forward to some depressing songs with throwaway funny titles.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the opening shit. I'm serious, but you're not.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, mate, I can't wait. Bring it on.
Lou, don't tease me, man. Come on. All right, I'll send them you, and if you like them, and you can round up the troops.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it, mate. Yeah, seriously, send it to me, please. Love
and if we run out, if we can't think of any words, do you want to do a verse on a song?
Yeah, of course. You want me to write some lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll get my rhyming dictionary out. Brilliant.
All right, dude. Big up,
my man. Much love to you, mate.
See you, Lou.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm recording this separately, pretending that I can remember what we said, and I could go, "Oh, this was a good point," or "This was." I can't remember any of that at all. So I'm basically saying I hope you enjoyed it. I've no concept of how good it is. I've no concept of what we said at this point. It was ages ago, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode will be out hopefully quicker than that one. Yeah, thanks loads, and have a lovely week, lovely weekend. This is the end of the podcast.